Hey, it's been a while since I've done a video, and in my new setup in my new place, I'm still not really comfortable with it. I have gone, I think I am comfortable with the delivery of my videos. I'm using a Screencast-O-Matic's online version. I've been using it a couple times. I seem pretty happy with that. I do apologize also for my voice. I've got a really bad cold. I'm actually probably just making this video to see if it'll work. I might not keep it. If I do post it, that must mean it came out reasonably okay. Um, I posted a couple things on Twitter and made a couple videos on this, the whole abortion thing. This is beginning of 2019, February, and we've had a couple of states basically change the law of their state to basically allow abortions right up to birth or almost birth, basically, um, for basically any reason that would be any health concern to the mother. And they left some loopholes in here, which basically also opens up mental health. So basically, depression and stuff like that, you could get with the baby. I even watched another couple of videos on YouTube of people going in for late-term abortions for certain states, and they have a huge bulge showing and no issues whatsoever. You just got to pay a lot of money for it. So my concern is I feel the abortion issue is going to end up eventually becoming just like the slavery issue back in the mid 1800s. We look back now and we look back now and it's like, oh, how could anybody have even thought that had to have slaves and slave another human race or whatever? And I think eventually over time, abortion will be looked the same way. My feelings of, like a lot of people, have changed over the years. I've always felt that it was wrong, um, but even as a teenager and stuff, I would be like, well, if I got my girlfriend pregnant after getting an abortion, just that certain mindset when you're young. I regret that now. Um, And as a youth, a possibility almost came up where I had to really consider it, and luckily we didn't have to. Um, but I'll get, I don't need to get more than that. I said in another video, I think too. I've done a couple of abortion videos, but this one I wanted to put out because I readjusted a chart that I think could be used nationwide, or at least hopefully some states would adopt it. We need to understand that at some point, fetuses are human lives, and trying to figure this whole mess out, science has gotten to the point now where it goes and ahead of morality in some cases. And I just think as a nation, we need to embrace something that we can all agree with. Uh, the whole polarity of everything, political polarity and stuff like that, it just gets ridiculous. So most of us Americans don't think that way. So I'm hoping that this might be something that can be looked at, and maybe some reasonable thoughts would come together and enforce something similar to this. So let's talk about some facts and concerns first. If I can get this to work correctly. I know my graphics are very weak. I'm sorry about that. I'm a pretty plain guy. So we look at the first point I want to make is sex is an act that requires participation. Um, Two people get together and have sex. They understand the consequences that might happen. So they can ignore it, they can whatever, but in the end, everybody knows that if you have sex, you might get pregnant. So, obviously not counting rape. We'll deal with that later. But two people, consensual sex could lead to pregnancy, and that's a responsibility that both these people have. And right away, I'm going to say I don't approve of abortion being a form of birth control. It's not even healthy for the mother. We won't get, but I don't have time to get into that in this video. So, sex is an act that requires participation. So both people going in pretty much know what's going on, unless it's rape or whatever. Basically, that's it, rape. So again, another one, most women can keep track of when their menstrual cycle takes place. Again, once a woman is at least a certain age and has been going through this for a little while, they understand the process, they understand the cycle. Even boyfriends and husbands understand it to a point that women are on a cycle all the way until they stop producing eggs. It's not rocket science. So women know when their periods are missed, pretty much, which I'll get into another bullet point on this one. So, but we have to accept the fact that most women can keep track of this. I just want to throw this in there. The contraception is responsibility of both parties. It is the responsibility of both parties, but in the end, we all know, especially in couples that engage in recreational sex or one night stands and stuff, the responsibility ends up being on the woman. It's her body, like a lot of these groups, advocacy groups say. So you got to be smart about it and understand that if you take that risk and have unprotected sex, or even protected sex sometimes doesn't work, you got to keep an eye on contraception and what you're doing. So, but it is still, I think the male still bears responsibility. Most women understand and know when they miss a menstrual cycle. So if you do have this kind of sex, whatever kind of sex, you understand, every woman should understand when they miss a period. If not, they definitely should know when they miss two. Not counting maybe women that are getting ready to go through menopause. I've seen situations like that where things skip around and it's more difficult. But for the most part, women know when they are going through their cycles and how many they've missed. That's pretty much 100%. On the other side here, when a woman gets pregnant, the baby needs to develop for about 9 months to fully develop and become viable, or they can exist on their own. So the plan is to go, it's actually almost 10 months, but 8.5, 9 months, they can be pretty viable. And it gets, even now we're down to 7 months in some cases or less. So when a woman's pregnant and they're in the late terms of their pregnancy, that baby is a baby and that baby can't exist. And for groups to say they can get an abortion at 9 months, again, to me, that's kind of monstrous, except for maybe a couple conditions, which we'll talk about. But again, for a woman to understand that the baby is a baby at a certain point when she's about to give birth, and we can debate that issue, but each month that goes through, it's more and more an obvious baby. Once born, a woman can give up the baby for adoption by the state. I need to talk about this for a minute. We could talk about abortion. We could talk about, should we or shouldn't we? We got to keep one thing in mind. If a woman gets pregnant, the worst case scenario for that woman, if she doesn't want the child, is to carry that child and put up with the inconveniences of pregnancy for 9.5, 10 months, let's say, if everything goes to term and is healthy, have to go through the arduous, process of giving birth. I totally get it. My wife has had 2 children, and I've been there for both. So I understand that. Actually, I have a couple medical conditions myself where female doctors, have told me that I come pretty close to knowing what childbirth is. I have a spastic colon and I've had a kidney stone. So I've had both. So I've been told by a female doctor with children that I have a close idea of what childbirth is. Close. Not in that exact, but close. So I understand it's not pleasant at all. So especially if you don't want the child. But again, you're looking at having that burden for 9.5 months or so, and then you don't have to have that burden anymore because you can give that child up for adoption. Having an abortion, for the most part, is a convenience. It means that you don't have to go through all this stuff, and ruin your body and all this other excuses I hear. It's all worth, doing something we're going to talk about in a second. But again, you got to keep in mind that it's a nine month or so process, and then you don't have to deal with that child anymore. So people don't really talk about that a lot. Even if you get pregnant and don't want the child, if you carry it and give birth to it, you don't have to keep it. The baby has a heartbeat at about 6 weeks old. So now we're going to get into what a baby is, and this is just one of the benchmarks I use. Around 6 weeks, you can get a heartbeat of the baby. Something that has a heartbeat is alive. To me, it's a baby, but even if you don't think it's a real baby, it's alive, whatever it is. And you'll have to take steps to stop that. Which brings me to my definition. What is life? Life's the condition that distinguishes animals and plants from inorganic matter. Obviously, it's organic matter in your belly, including the capacity for growth, reproduction, functional activity, and continual change preceding death. That's the definition of life. That fetus is going through that process, so that baby is alive. It's a life. That is indisputable by definition, scientific definition. That baby is alive. So since it is alive, let's look at this. Who can kill? What can kill? Cause the death of a person, animal, or other living thing. So if you stop the life process of another living thing, you have killed it. Let's not sugarcoat things, okay? And one thing I'm getting too long in this video, but you need to understand that if you have done an abortion already and you didn't know all the facts and obviously you regret it, then you can be forgiven for that. And I'm not trying to say I forgive or like that, but it's just something that you shouldn't be held accountable for. I wouldn't, I don't think anybody would hold somebody accountable who got an abortion and later regretted it. I think I need to say that as I'm saying these words like kill and stuff like that. So I need to go kind of fast because I only got like 5 minutes on this program. So, and I don't want to make it 2 videos. Then again, maybe I should. Yeah, maybe I should. So, well, let's stop this one in a minute. So I need people to understand that as we get into what I'm going to show you next, in the next video, that abortion should never be considered something to use as a form of birth control. And also, again, what you're looking at is, let me see if I can change my thing here. I think I can. Yeah, cool. Abortion shouldn't be, I lost my train of thought for a second. If you get pregnant and you don't want that baby or can't have that baby or whatever, the worst you're looking at is still carrying that baby, give that baby life, and give that baby up for adoption. If you're going to sit there and tell me that that baby is better off being dead than living and being adopted or living in an orphan, whatever, excuse me, man, cold's really acting up. You can't decide that. You have a life inside of you. If you decide to terminate that life, to kill it, you've killed it. That's it. You made the decision. Not for anything of health or anything. I know those instances do exist. We'll talk about those in the next video, but you have made the choice based mostly on convenience. You don't want the baby, you get the abortion, you don't have to go through anything. You had a life that you could have had, and you decided to end it. Real quickly, before I end this video, why do I care about this? Well, one, as I have children, and I went through close calls when I was a teenager. But in the end, I know I wouldn't have done it because I was one of those babies. My mom got knocked up as a teenager, and my mother's mother, my grandmother, was a nurse and could have told my mom she could go get it taken care of. You need to decide what you want to do. And they went off on a little car ride. I might have mentioned this in the other video. I can't remember. But and for about a half hour, my life was on the line. And they came back and they decided to stay together. They got married and had me. And they're still married now, 51 years later. So it worked out. But they made the decision to have the baby. Good for me, right? They could have easily came back and said, we don't want the baby. And that would have been bad for me. So yeah, I'm a little biased in this situation. I like living. I think living is pretty cool. So I'm appreciative of the fact that they let me live. So I am a little biased. So I'm going to end this video now because it's about all the time I have. Part 2 will be a little more concise on what I think should happen in the process. And you can let me know what you think. So I'll end this video now and start the second one. And thanks for watching.